So I guess this documentary gives us the full story about the Frankston murders back in the 90s. So No Mercy, No Remorse is a new Stan original, which is a documentary. It's about a serial killer named Paul Denyer who terrorized Frankston back in the mid-90s. I think it was like 93 or 94. It was, I think, a couple of years before I was born, and it was in the middle of winter, so it was from April, like mid-April to about June, which is kind of like the start and middle of our winter here in Australia. He basically abducted and murdered 3 women over about a 6 to 8 week period. The murders were really quite gruesome. It was unlike anything that the Mornington Peninsula had ever seen or ever experienced before. He's the reason that people from Frankston still look in the backseat of their cars before they drive off. Like, this dude had a fucking huge effect on the community down in Frankston and I guess Seaford and Langwarrin and all the other sort of suburbs in that area. This documentary gives us a little bit more to the story than what you would have found out on the news. It's not in an attempt to make you sympathize with this guy. It's not like those Netflix serial killer documentaries which really glorify, you know, this person. A lot of the stuff that's in this documentary puts the onus on this guy that he is a fucking monster. And all the people who are interviewed, you can see even the police chiefs, the judges, the lawyers, the friends and families of the women who are murdered, they still feel it and they still show such emotion and hatred for this man because of what he did and what he did without showing any kind of sympathy or any kind of empathy or remorse. That's the whole point of this documentary, is it's to show that this guy really just was completely wired differently. He was not human to an extent. The guy was very troubled, and he did all this when he was about 21 as well. He's just nothing. He's not wired the way that most people are, and he's up for parole next year. So originally he was given 3 life sentences by the judge, but then it was decreed that he's been too harsh. But at that time, the judge identified that this guy is fucked. Like, this guy is completely fucked. And he gave him 3 life sentences, which means he would have died behind bars. But some people were like, nah, that's a little bit too heavy. And it's now down to, I guess, one life sentence, which is what, 25 to 30 years here in Australia. If you're a fan of serial killer documentaries, you'll probably really enjoy this one. I'm not a massive fan of these sorts of things, but I felt like this one did it pretty tastefully. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't glorifying the serial killer at all. It wasn't turning him into some fucking fetish for these fuckwits on the internet who love serial killers and whatever. It wasn't like that at all. A lot of it from the perspective of the people who suffered through what this man did. You know, it was the police officers, it was the detectives, it was the friends and family, it was the boyfriends, the mums, the dads. All these people are the ones who have been brought into this documentary to speak. If you've got Stan, I recommend you give it a go. As far as documentaries go, I thought it was really well done. It was pretty short and concise. They told us everything that we needed to know. Mostly interviews and encounters with Paul Denyer himself. A bunch of stuff of him in his house with the police. There's a bunch of stuff at the murder scenes. And there's a bunch of footage from the interview. If there's one thing that you should watch this documentary for, it's the footage of the police interview where they ended up getting his confession. That stuff was really riveting and really interesting to see how the police had to go about questioning this man who they had no evidence against, but they knew that it was him. Just within them, they knew that it was this guy, and the way that they had to get a confession out of him without putting blame on him, getting him to confess to it himself, was really amazing. So that's why I'm going to give No Mercy, No Remorse an 8 out of 10. So tell me, guys, has anyone watched No Mercy, No Remorse? Comment down below, let me know what you thought about it. Yeah, as far as serial killer docos go, this one was pretty good. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but if you are like me and you are just kind of interested in watching something that's a bit short and that's relatively interesting, give this one a go. If you've got Stan, check it out. If you like serial killer documentaries, you'll probably love this and you've probably already seen it, so you don't need me to tell you to watch it. So that was the review, guys. Hope you really enjoyed it. As always, click through to another video. We'll keep having some fun. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.